Hey guys, Laura Davos here. Thank you for joining me for my spiritual spinning video. This is not a how-to spin video. This is just the meditative qualities of spinning and a little bit of the history of spinning and how spinning as a spiritual practice can be incorporated to great effect. So I want to start off with a little bit of history because I think that nowadays, with our $18 hoodies and our disposable fashion, we really do not appreciate or respect textiles the way our ancestors did. And there's a lot of things that we don't respect as much as our ancestors did. Like, they didn't have HEB, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm talking about way back ancestors, not necessarily your grandparents, right? Before the Industrial Revolution, I just want you to expand your mind for a moment to infinitum and imagine how big those ships were back in the day. So like you have this big giant ship, all of that wood and those giant sails, those big white sails that you see on those ships. Every thread in that sail was spun by hand, either on a spindle, or if the spinner was very professional and very wealthy and made a lot of money at it, then with a wheel like this Cassandra here. And I've got plenty of videos of the Cassandra. I'm not going to readjust my camera to show you the whole thing. And especially if it was cotton that was being spun, it was spun on something like this. This is a modernized historical reproduction, so it looks like a historical reproduction, but this area here is where it is no longer a historical reproduction. All of this, historical reproduction. This, modernized, because I have a modernized quill on the end here. And I'm just going to drop everything for a second. So these were used. Usually this was sat on the floor and you would sit adjacent to it this way. It's all a very, some would say, tedious and inefficient process. Now that we have machines to do it for us, why would we ever want to go back to the very basics, the very beginning, and use a primitive tool like this when we can just buy yarn at the store, when we can just buy clothes at the store? And if you're spiritual at all or crafty at all, you know that defeats the purpose. The whole purpose of doing this is to enjoy the act of creation. That's what I believe makes it such a meditative process. These fibers are not fixed. They're very kind of chaotically arranged with some. Now this is top, so it's not as chaotically arranged as some of the other fiber preparation methods. But a lot of times you have very chaotically arranged fibers that you then bring into alignment as you are spinning it. Because as you introduce twists into tiny little hairs like this, they want to align themselves into something. It's kind of like whenever you think of the stars and the galaxies and the universe, the Big Bang just spewed matter across the known universe and just spewed it across, yet somehow they stuck to themselves. They stuck to each other. They made planets. They erupted into stars supernovaed, and erupted even more elements in to the atmosphere. And it's that order from chaos. And you can see that just in the hairs of chaotically arranged wool being very precisely arranged into this nice, orderly thread of wool. So, the meditative process. If you are first learning how to spin, just as you are first learning how to do anything, there's going to be a lot of frustration, maybe a lot of swearing, you know what I'm saying, as you're learning a new task. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes that super woo-woo meditative process. And let me just say that there is something very intuitive about spinning. This is not a how to spin video, but right now I'm just going to tell you guys what I'm feeling as I'm spinning. I'm not going to draft any more yarn. I'm just going to sit here. I can feel the tension and the twist building up here in my fingertips. As I pull it down and I'm making new yarn, and that new yarn is absorbing that twist and is taking some of the tension off, I can feel the fiber between my fingers start to relax. When those fibers relax too much, you hear plunk, and your drop spindle drops. You lose all the twist in your yarn because there wasn't enough twist or tension to support the yarn that you were trying to spin. You really need the twist to do that, because it's the twist that locks the fibers together. And it's not necessarily a vibration. It's a very strange process because I don't really have words, and this is probably where a lot of how to spin videos kind of fall short. I don't have words to describe the very subtle feelings that I get in my fingers. As I am drafting this yarn out, I can feel each tiny individual hair pass over the skin of my thumb and forefinger. I can feel those hairs slip down and twist. I can feel with this finger, as well as this finger, as the yarn is sliding down, and I'm spinning much too quickly here. I keep having to stop and wind on, which interrupts my whole, let me tell you what it's like sort of flow, but here we are. I can feel because wool is a very good fiber to start with when you're learning how to spin, because wool fibers stick to each other quite nicely, but they're not sticky to your fingers, but they're sticky to themselves and each other and the other wool hairs, that I can feel them sticking and unsticking. I can feel the fibers grating against each other. And that friction, I can feel the friction of fiber against fiber as I am spinning. And it is a very interesting tactile feel that if you've never spun yarn before, you would never know what the hell I'm talking about. You know, you'd be like, well, that sounds fucking weird. It is very productive feeling too, because I can take this yarn off, I can weave with it as it is, I can ply it and knit with it, I can do all kinds of crazy ornate things in the plying method, because you're not quite finished here. You have to take this yarn and spin it again on itself. You know, think about toilet paper. One-ply toilet paper, your finger's going to go through the paper and get dirty, isn't it? It's not going to be very useful to anyone. Two-ply, all right? And, you know, it's a little daintier. Maybe I'll use two-ply to blow my nose with. If you really want to wipe your ass, and you're going to want three-ply toilet paper, aren't you? Right? So that's just a very funny, I think I'm trying to entertain you at the same time that I'm trying to learn you something. So it's a process that you are sitting with this wool for a long time as you are creating something. You're sitting with these fibers and you're turning them into one thread. Then you take those one threads, you make those one threads two threads twisted together, right? And there's many methods of doing that. Or three threads twisted together. And really the possibilities for plying are endless, so I'm going to stop there. And then once you have the yarn, that's a finished product, kind of. What are you going to make with that yarn? Let's say you make a hat with that yarn. And so you knit or you crochet a hat with that yarn. You have probably spent upwards of 30 hours on that one project by itself, if not more. That's 30 hours of your energy. Because we all have energy. We're very energetic beings. We all have our own unique vibrations. It's why crystal healing works. Crystals have a vibration of their own as well. So you have a vibration. So you're putting your vibration into everything that you do and everything that you touch and everything that you spend a lot of time with. Think, for instance, and I'm going to quote Ted Andrews here, children who have that favorite blankie or that favorite stuffed animal and they get mad when you wash it, right? Because children know that's mine, that smells like me, that feels like me. I have my energy stored in that thing, right? You store your energy in the clothes that you wear. It's why whenever a loved one passes away, and it's always the clothes that you're like, I can't wear these. I'm not going to wear these, but I cannot throw them away. All of these clothes, I don't want to wash them. I want to keep them in a baggie forever and pull it out and feel her in it when I hug this sweater. It's a real thing when you think about it. So let's talk about, you are creating that sweater or that blankie or whatever. You're creating it from scratch. You are taking from fiber to yarn to sweater or hat or what have you. You have put a lot of your energy stores into this item, right? And this is where, like, you can, if you want to experiment with spirit cloths, I'm currently working on a project right now of creating my own spirit cloth where I'm spinning the yarn with the intention of putting extra spiritual energy into that yarn. I'm going to ply that yarn. I'm going to spin it again, right? To ply it. I'm going to put that energy into it, that intention into it. I'm going to knit that yarn into a spirit cloth that I can meditate with, that I can wrap around me when I meditate, right? So that's a very interesting spiritual thing that you can do with this yarn when you've finished it. And not everything you do has to be woo-woo, but if there's anything that I have learned in my spiritual practice is that intention is everything, and you're always putting intention into something, whether you even realize it or not. Let's say you come home from work and you're mad, but you're hungry, so you're gonna cook food. So you slam the microwave door shut, and you click the buttons, and you sit there, and you're all impatient, you're all simmering in your own anger, and you eat that food, and you get angrier and angrier, because you put anger into the food that you were cooking for yourself, and now you are reconsuming that anger and you're sitting into it. I never cook when I'm angry. And it's something that, very strangely, my Southern Baptist father always would say. He'd tell my mom, don't you put no anger in my food. Don't you be slamming nothing in the kitchen. Don't put no anger in my food. And I don't know, that kind of stuck with me. It's like, yeah, don't put no anger in my food. So if I'm angry about something, I usually, before I do anything creative, before I go and make an angry post on Facebook and spread that anger and taint the world with my negative intention, I stop and I breathe for a few seconds, and inevitably you'll find that what you were angry about really wasn't worth that energy. It wasn't worth taking your positive energy and ruining your own vibrations. So I know I got super fucking woo-woo here at the end, but yeah, there's something to be said about textiles that you create yourself and that have your own energy in them. And I love knitting and spinning and crocheting for other people because, and there's that joke, oh, knit with love in every stitch. That's a fucking thing, guys. I knit things for my nephew, my sister, all my family and friends. When I'm knitting that thing, all I'm thinking about, before I even got into a spiritual practice, I was thinking, man, they're going to love this so much. They're going to be so excited. They don't even know I'm making this right now. Like, I'm so excited to see how excited they're going to be when I show them this. And whenever I hand it to them, guess what? They get so excited. They're like, oh my God. Because my excitement at the anticipation of giving it to them is contagious through that object, right? So, yeah, so there are certain things that I'm working on right now, and I'm playing with my levels of intention. Like, I'm going to spin this yarn. I don't know what I'm going to make with this yarn, but I want this yarn to be really comforting. I have the intention of making this comforting. As comforting as the practice of spinning is to me, I want it to be comforting when I take this finished thing, when I'm finally done with it, and I wrap it around myself. I want to feel comforted, right? So the spiritual aspect of spinning is something that I think gets ignored sometimes. And it doesn't have to just be for spinning. It could be for any crafty thing that you do. If you do wood carving, you know, if you make beads and jewelry, you're infusing everything that you make with your essence, right? I just feel like for me, spinning is something that is very ancestral. And it's almost like you're not learning a new skill when you are crafting in these kinds of ancient ways, and you're taking these timeless um, production methods like spinning or carving or even blacksmithing. You're taking these timeless crafts, and you're really just relearning something that you knew all along. I do think that there is something, because everyone all over the world spun so often, is why I really latch onto the spinning, and it's something that, of course, that I'm very interested in. So I always use that as an example. But you're not really learning anything new. You're just remembering how to do it. And I think that if you approach any new skill like that, I already know how to do this. I'm just remembering this incarnation of how to do it. You're going to have a lot more confidence approaching that skill. And as long as you think that way, you're going to be more open to those intuitive, very fine muscle memories that you are unlocking, right? So I think that I have said more than enough here. It's 18 minutes. I don't want this to be too long. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see other videos kind of similar to this, kind of me taking my craft and, you know, slapping my spirituality into it and making a good little crafty spiritual sandwich, let me know in the comment section down below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and until next time, happy dabbling and bye-bye.